My path into the SEALs was through the Naval Academy, which is a 4-year college run by the Navy where you actually enlist in the Navy to go to school. So you're not only getting an engineering degree in a very hard school, but you have all your military responsibilities on top of it. And that gives you the opportunity to then be commissioned into the officer ranks as soon as you finish school. And at that school, you have to compete to get a chance to go to SEAL training. So that was actually one of the hardest parts of my journey, based on the fact that there's 12,000 applicants for my Naval Academy class for 1,200 spots. So at least the year that I went in, it was the third hardest school to get into in the country. So you already are competing with the best the country has to offer. And then from there, only the top of that group actually want to try and become a SEAL. So it was about 250 guys my freshman year. By the time we got to my senior year, it was about 50. That got narrowed down to competing for only 15 spots. So that was extremely challenging to get awarded one of those 15 spots to go to SEAL training as an officer. And then you show up at SEAL training, and that's when it really gets hard. So from there, my BUDS class, class 222, we started with 135 guys, and 6 months later, we graduated 11 of those original 135. So less than 10% of the people that started actually finished with that class. So BUDS is the basic SEAL training. It's really the tryout process. So they don't train you much. All they do is torture you for 6 months long. So BUDS stands for Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training. And this has been the same training process. Of course, they've adapted it over time, but it's been the same training process really since World War II with the Naval Combat Demolition Units. Everything from the rubber boats and rock portage to log PT, these traditions have been around since World War II. And then when the SEALs were brought into existence in the late 60s, that's where it really just kicked to another level. I graduated in the spring of 1999 with a very small class. We only had 3 officers that graduated, so we got to choose whatever team we wanted to go to, and I chose to go to SEAL Team 3, being responsible for the Middle East, because I thought if there's anything to happen, it's going to happen there. And as an officer, when you first get to a team, your job is really just to learn, right? To learn and not cause any trouble. And eventually, you're going to get elevated into leadership positions as you do continuous tours or multiple tours. I was very lucky in that most SEALs, because SEALs cover the entire world 24/7, 365, and there's only ever conflict in very small areas of that world. And so you have to get really lucky to be assigned to the part of the world where there's conflict, and then hopefully you get to do something. The movies would have you think that every time a SEAL leaves his house, there's explosions and gunfire, and the reality is that most SEALs never see any conflict because there isn't something going on. I was lucky that every time I deployed, from my very first deployment all the way through my last deployment, I got deployed and got to do real-world missions even before September 11th, being able to do anti-oil smuggling operations in taking over ships. Saddam was sending ships, armored ships out of Iraq with illegal oil, and it was our job to attack those ships. I was honored to be able to produce a new method of attacking those ships, of breaching those ships, and that was really exceptional that as a junior officer on my first deployment, I was able to actually innovate SEAL tactics, and returning from that deployment, got to teach all the teams across the country how to do this new method that they called the Yatch entry, which was really cool to be able to have this innovation to be written about in books and to be able to teach other SEALs how to do this. And then when I got back from that deployment, September 11th happened 5 days later. And so that's when it really got busy for us.